Okay, so we've killed Rasputin. He's been assassinated by members of Nicholas's family, but this still the confidence in the Tsar's government is now shot, and it sets up the return of the Bolsheviks. They were the communist followers of Marx in Russia, and they are led by Lenin, who had to, during the first part of the war, because of that threat that he represented to the Tsar. He had been in exile in Finland, and he actually barely escapes with his life, and he's able to come back. So the March Revolution starts with food riots, strikes, and in this the provisional government, Lenin and the Bolsheviks are able to return the Soviets or local councils. The Duma has to declare itself. Finally, they're reestablished as the provisional government. They form these what's called Soviets, local councils that are trying to run the operation. Finally, Tsar Nicholas is forced to abdicate the throne, and Lenin and the Bolsheviks, I told you, are able to return. Lenin is a very fascinating figure, Vladimir Lenin, leading Marxist revolutionary, follower of Marxism, um, believing in the struggle of the proletariat, and this is that he's going to oversee Marx's. He's going to see Marx's vision, that class struggle and revolution that we've talked about. That Marx said, the workers, the working class will rise up, and again he at first he's exiled to Serbia. He later flees to Western Europe, but he's able to come back and implement the lead in these social reforms. That's the first revolution that forces the Tsar to abdicate. Well, the Bolsheviks aren't quite in power yet. The Red Guards are the workers taking over government offices and arresting the leaders of, remember, the Duma is still in charge, the provisional government. So by October of 1917, Lenin starts to begin this takeover of St. Petersburg. They take the private property of the wealthy is abolished, divided among the peasantry, and and the large industrial enterprises are nationalized. The Bolsheviks take charge of Russia, and it really began but a civil war between the red Bolshevik army and the white anti-Bolshevik forces, the provisional government led by Kerensky. So again, you've got a revolutionary army created with Leon Trotsky in charge of the Red Army, and they're named the Bolsheviks are renamed the Communist Party in March of 18. And again, they negotiate that Treaty of Brest-Litovsk to get Russia out of World War One, with the Germans, and so with little to bargain, they lose territory in this case. Poland, Finland, the Ukraine, and the war continues up until November of 18, as you know, when the Germans, Austrians, and Ottomans surrender. So, but the Russians do gain a lot of that territory back that they lost in the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, that they were forced to give up as a result of exiting the war. And I told you that we have a civil war, that provisional government led by Alexander Kerensky, and the Reds and the anti-Bolshevik forces, the Whites. The Whites are the army officers, the bourgeoisie, moderate revolutionaries. The Whites receive support from England, France, USA, Japan, after the Russians leave the war, but the Reds are ultimately victorious. In the background of these revolutions taking place in the Civil War, what you ultimately have is the death of the imperial family, as the Bolsheviks taking power in October of 17. Talk of putting Nicholas and his family on trial increased. They had abdicated to that provisional government, but now the Bolsheviks are fully in charge under Lenin. But there's the civil war going on, and they're fearful of the White Army's advancing to set Nicholas free. So the royal families moved and finally ended up at the town of Ekaterinburg in 1918. But the White Army was advancing and possibly was going to be able to rescue the town. So Nicholas and family were awakened in the middle of the night, moved to the basement, and shot. Okay, as a result, and Their bodies were burned with acid, thrown down a well. So 8 days after the executions, the town of Ekaterinburg was captured by the White Army. So again, it wasn't without cause that they did this. The Bolsheviks saw their cause, but again, um, all of their family was killed. All 5 children and the Tsar.